here with Beau Davidson from the Beau Show. We've connected before, and here we are back at Turning Point Action Conference at the America Project booth. Beau, you do so many interviews, and I know there's so much going on in the world. It impacts youth like nothing else because they're so vulnerable. What do you think is one of the biggest issues right now impacting youth?
I think one of the biggest issues is a lack of values and a lack of role models. I know when I was growing up, I was very fortunate to be raised in the church. My mom and dad were obviously great role models, but I think there's a problem with that. Parenting is obviously a huge issue right now. There's a lot of kids that just don't have. They're coming from single parent homes. There's a lack of fatherhood. But more importantly, I look at, as an entertainer, I've looked at people all my life, and I look at, let's say Taylor Swift. Let's use her as an example. She's a good role model in the sense of she seems to be drug-free, alcohol-free, but at the same time, she's trying to condition youth to a certain political philosophy. And so while I see some of the good things she's doing, I see other things politically I don't agree with at all. And I think if you look at a lot of what Hollywood is doing, a lot of what they're putting out, there's not a lot to look up to. Cardi B, different actors, different singers. And so I think one of the problems with youth is that they got no one to look up to. And that even extends to athletes. And in the NFL, the NHL, we're seeing the wokeification of professional sports. It happened to me directly as a singer. I got knocked off a particular singing gig because I wasn't a certain sexual orientation, right here in Florida, if you can believe that. So I'm like, that's difficult. When a child is growing up, they need to have a certain conviction. I've always had that, but I know a lot of kids don't have the same type of conviction. So I think that's number one. Number two, of course, is drug use. We obviously know fentanyl is a major crisis. Those who are doing recreational drugs, whether it's from marijuana to ecstasy, it's getting laced with fentanyl. And that's we know it's killing more people today under age 45 than anything else. That's serious.
Yeah, Beau, a lot of parents are listening to you right now thinking, I know it's there, I know it's happening, but my kids would never.
Well, they say that, but you don't know what they're doing when you don't see them. Yeah, that's the problem.
And the fact is, that's the number one killer.
Yeah.
So it's invading our families. And one of the past, Beau, is social media. Talk to us about the impact of social media and the continual negative voices that these kids are inhaling every day.
Social media is obviously one of the big problems. We've seen that in congressional testimony. What's happening is that the social media companies are using algorithms that have a dopamine receptor in them for the kids. So they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on TikTok. TikTok's one of the worst, we know, that's coming from China. But it's that constant dopamine hit. And they're using their time on that rather than outside, rather than developing a skill. We all know, even Mike Rowe has talked about this, there is a skills deficiency. And what's happening is kids are instead being preconditioned to what social media teaches them. That's distorted images of women. Men too. But I think women are particularly susceptible to a distorted image of who they really are. And they're not looking in here, they're looking here.
Yeah, Beau, you talked a bit about your faith background, your family background. What are some of the things your parents did that were right that helped you to have another stronger voice than the messages all around you?
Well, I was raised in the church. And now when I say that, a lot of people out there may say, well, I was raised in the church too, but I was abused or I didn't like what I was, grew up on. I was very fortunate in that respect. I was raised in the adult church choir. I used my gift that God gave me and I was able to apply it immediately. So having a talent is a great thing if a parent can identify it and put them in something that immediately gives them a sense of purpose. I don't care what that is. It could be art, it could be photography, it could be basketball, it could be skiing, whatever it is. Finding that sense of purpose is so critical. Rather than being on social media, find the skill. So I was lucky to be raised in the church, but I also found my gift and developed my gift in the church. Again, my mom will be very appreciative of this, but that's because she did that. Even today, she says, Beau, did you go to church today? I still get that call from my mom to see if I've gone. And most of the time I have, if I'm not busy and I'm not out, traveling or working somewhere. So that's one thing I'd say is make sure that your child has a rootedness in faith. And then also give them a sense of purpose. Rick Warren wrote the book, The Purpose-Driven Life. We all have to find our purpose. And now you get the 16-year-old becomes the 21-year-old, becomes the 45-year-old, and they're still searching for purpose. Get them reading. Get them on the right materials. And so my mom was a public school teacher for over 30 years, I think closer to 40. Again, lucky for me, I had a public school teacher as a mother. But at the same time, parents have to be proactive in their kids' education. We know this. This is a current problem right now through the entire country. Until the pandemic, parents didn't really know what their kids were being taught. And then we saw it online. And that was a real problem. I'm not a parent myself, but I know that if I ever am one day, I will be adamant about watching how that kid is educated. So it's a proactivity level too.
Thank you, Beau. And I'm with Partners for Family Values, and I'm so thankful to have the support of the America Project. What we're trying to do is not only talk about youth, but talk to them. So we have this campaign. This is like breaking news, Beau. We're calling a message to American youth. And so I would love for you to speak right to the America youth. What is your message for youth today?
My message for youth today is find your purpose, find your skill, find your passion. Purpose and passion are so important. It's what guided me through a very difficult career in the entertainment business, in the media business, and I was very fortunate to have found my rooting in faith. I had great parents, I had great grandparents, but I also had to find mentors. Mentors are a very, very important part of this, and just like I told you, there's not many of them out there. So find the right role models, find the right materials to be reading, find the right education system to belong to, but most importantly, follow your heart, but don't take it wherever it leads. You have to find purpose. I would recommend a couple of books. The Purpose-Driven Life is one of them. Also a book called The Slight Edge by, I believe his last name is Olson. And it's because it's the principle of compound interest. What you do today, someone else is not doing. Over time, through the principle of compound interest, that grows. And where everybody else is here, you're now up here. But you have to be habitual about it and do it every single day. So that's my advice to the youth today. Find your passion, find your purpose, and find your great role models.
Thank you so much, Beau Davidson, and look him up on YouTube, the Beau Davidson. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.